I can go outside and spend hours at the beach in the sunlight, but that won't help me become a better person. It's kind of funny to think about it like that. I might get sunburned, but I won't necessarily grow morally. I won't grow in my relationship to Christ. I won't grow necessarily as a better father if I just hang out in the sunlight. And yet, we know, if we have studied at all anthroposophy or spiritual science, or immersed ourselves in the gospel and in the scripture, that light, daylight, sun comes from God. Somehow there is a source of light that is moral, that when I get close to will help me become more loving. That when I start to understand more and more and follow, I will start to become more and more of a true human being. And this is the mystery. What is the relationship with the daylight, with Christ's moral, loving light? Because after all, as Andrew said, we hear in the Gospel of John, he says, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, if you learn to follow my light, you will not walk in darkness. But that doesn't mean, that's not equal to, obviously, the sun, the outer sun. Otherwise, we would have all that we need right now. And so it's quite apropos, I would say, that on this day, the day before St. John's Tide, where we celebrate the author of the John Gospel, where we celebrate the one who said, I am not the light. I want to know the light, the true light that enlightens every human being. And in the Christian community liturgy, in our St. John's prayers, brought down by Rudolf Steiner, we have this ending on St. John's that's very apropos to our talk today. Very appropriate to kind of open us with a blessing into these mysteries. And that is the last stanza from the St. John's liturgy. And it goes like this. I'll read it as a kind of entry. May our soul receive the bestower of light, the creator of light, in light's fullness of love. May our soul receive. So it's a prayer. The John's mode is a prayer of reception. And he doesn't just say, may we receive the light, which you might think. He says, may we receive the bestower of light. It's a being. The creator of light, a being. In light's fullness of love. So somehow love has to do with light in this holy liturgy. So hopefully, and we'll pray that we'll hear that at the end as a kind of closing, but hopefully these thoughts and pictures here can lead us a little bit more into the depths of what that source of light is. But let's start with the sun. I drew a little sun here. Hopefully you can see that. And we'll just start with what we experience as daylight, normal daylight. Again, I can't sit in the sun and become a better person. I might actually become worse because I'll get so hot and burnt. But if I find Christ's light, it's different. Nevertheless, let's start with the sun. And there's two qualities I want to bring out about the sun as we kind of make our way through the phenomena of light, and then enter into what Rudolf Steiner will tell us about the sources of light. So the sun is if we learn from the sun shows us that light is a point. It's a something. Every light, most light that we know of, even electricity, but that's a long story, comes from the sun. And the sun is the source. And I can even look at the sun, although I don't recommend it, it will damage your eyes. Light comes from a being, a point. And then it also has a sphere. Light, as most of you know, you don't really see. You can see the sun, but you don't really see the emanations of light. You see only what it hits, what the rays of light hit and are reflected by. So in a way, you could say we see a point and a kind of atmosphere of light caused by its reflection from lots of different hittings of molecules, if you want to use natural science. And so you can see that light, if we just look at it from our natural observation, it's from a point giving something out. The sun is giving something out. It's actually dying. That's really an important thing. Even natural science will say that. The sun is emanating its energy and dying in the process. And that energy, that light is then being reflected and creates a kind of atmosphere, a wave atmosphere. Imagine like when light hits the water. Have you ever been to a lake or the sea when the light is hitting it and it's dancing? It's kind of like an atmosphere it creates, a wave-like atmosphere. So light is a point, a source that gives itself and dies in that giving. It's also an atmosphere, a wave-like atmosphere.